Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome, welcome. Glad to have you on the live stream. Excited to get started this evening. Oh, and I did not get water before I went and started the live stream. I guess I will just be thirsty tonight. All right, welcome. As always, please feel free to say hello in the comments. Let me know where you're watching, if you're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever else on the internet you hail from. I'm excited to attempt my second attempt at an animal. I normally paint landscapes because it's harder to mess up a tree than it is an animal. Or a mountain than it is an animal. But tonight we are going to be working on an animal. So please feel free to say hello. If you see me looking down, it's because my computer and software is running right there, just off screen. But my main camera, my phone, will capture this so y'all can see this. Now I am looking. I think I need to flip my camera for y'all. Okay. Yes. Now you see what I see exactly. So it's a little bit more. Let me adjust this as well. All right. So that you see what I see. Okay. Good deal. Okay, so we are going to get started today with some as you may have imagined or figured out, we're going to be painting this beautiful trumpeter swan. My friend Nicolas took this photo and I thought it was just so beautiful. Let me actually put the image up here. There it is. Let's put it over on this side. That's the actual image I'm working with. Let me adjust it a little bit so that you can see. Welcome, welcome. I see several more of you coming into the live stream. So glad to have you with me this evening. So I'm going to be working with this photo. It's a little bit, obviously renders a little bit different on my screen through your screen. So the overlay is actually what it looks like on my screen. So you can kind of see the color tones and things as we work. My live streams are really low key. It's a weekend. It's All Hallows Eve, Halloween. And so for this pandemic Halloween, I am doing a painting live stream. Please feel free to say hello in the comments, and wherever you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. Hello, Mom. so glad that you popped in for a little bit. So to get started, I want to. We'll be getting to this swan, and you can see that I've kind of drawn it out here on the canvas, and I'll talk a little bit about this in a minute. But I wanted to take just a minute on this live stream to chat. Several of you have come into my live streams over the last several weeks. You have supported me. You've encouraged me on this journey, learning to paint using YouTube tutorials and learning to paint on YouTube. I have no painting experience. I haven't been trained as a painter or an artist. Hello, Dad, too. Glad you are able to catch it, at least part of it. So typically on the weekends, I will do a live stream on Saturday night usually, or sometimes Sunday evening, where I paint a painting. When I have time during the week, on the weekend or during the week evenings, I will live stream that on Instagram. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, please go ahead and do that at Stephen E. Rice, Stephen with a V, middle initial E, Rice on Instagram. You can see what I'm working on when I go live, and usually, occasionally, my food. I'm one of those that takes pictures of whatever I'm eating, if it's, or baking or cooking if it's good. So, but typically it's more and more painting as I become more passionate about this hobby. This is very informal. It's kind of like I say, open house, pop in, pop out, say hello. I love to engage with y'all. So as we go, ask questions or make comments. I'm happy to stop and explain what I'm doing, what my thought process is. As I learn, I'm kind of learning on the go. And so I'll talk a little bit about that with this swan. But I want to take a few minutes at the beginning of this live stream because it's been several months. I probably started painting, I would say, in May. During the pandemic, I was just getting really kind of anxious, and during the original quarantine, and I needed something to a creative outlet that I didn't have to be perfect at. And so I went into my back room and took out some old acrylic paints and started painting. And I want to show you kind of what I've done over the last several months, and show you kind of my progression as I've improved little by little. Um, Hi there, Matthew. So glad you joined me. As Matthew and my parents have been, y'all are welcome to say hello on the comments. I'd love to have comments from you. If you're watching on YouTube, say hello. If you popped over from Instagram, thanks so much. If you see this on Twitter, I am glad to have you here. So I want to show you what I've done in the last several months, just because often when I'm painting, people will pop in and they say, "Oh, you are so good. You've improved all these things," which I really appreciate the vote of confidence and the encouragement. But I want to show you how this started. The very first painting I painted was supposed to be kind of sunset through the trees and a couple walking with an umbrella. I did this painting again later, and it turned out much better. But the very first painting I ever painted, this was probably in April or May, was this one. And I'm showing it just because I want you to see where I started and how bad it really was. So this was the first painting I painted. These were all the paints I had in my room. I had blue, I had yellow, I had red, I had brown. I think I had white and black. And these little like images are actually the couple walking under the umbrella. I didn't know how to paint an umbrella, so I tested that on this canvas because it was clearly a misadventure. But I keep it around just so that I can look at it and look at, like, I remember when I painted this and it wasn't turning out how I saw in my head, even though I was following a tutorial, and it was just really bad. And it reminds me that things can get better. So from there, I said, well, I need to learn some more skills. So I started using YouTube tutorials, and this was another one I did. It's not a landscape, but I wanted to learn more about shading and creating the illusion of 3D dimensions on a 2D canvas. So this is one that I did. Actually, I started with this ball. I followed a tutorial of an artist on YouTube, and it was okay, but you can see how the blending is a little rough there. The blending is rough. It's not very smooth. And so I immediately turned around and did it again with kind of these pink, blue, or pink and red colors. By this time, I had gotten more paint and some better brushes and more supplies. So you could see it improved even between this one and this one a little bit. And then I was so excited because I had a friend who took a beautiful picture of these flowers in his flower shop, and I was going to paint those, and I took that photo and jumped right in and tried to paint this. Now, it's not horrible if you kind of like suggest paintings that suggest the the um, the subject. These suggest flowers. I mean, you could tell what they are, but it's not a really great painting compared to the image. I'm going to actually repaint this image. It's still um, in my portfolio of to paint images, but you can see I wasn't really good at mixing color, but it was not good. The green is too bright on the stem. I messed up the background and I tried to fix it and I didn't fix it, and so it was really dark. It had been excuse me, it had been lighter like this color. But yeah, and that's when I realized I really needed to go back to basics and learn a little bit more. And so I stepped into painting some tutorials. And I started painting things that other people had painted and just copying literally what they had painted. And my ability, or my results, not my ability, my results jumped up. But over time, my ability improved as I tried to mimic these paintings. So this was probably May of this year, kind of a dystopian, otherworldly, other planet sunset. And let's see, then I did this one, which was a copy of somebody else's. You could see I was trying to work on techniques that would make more realistic clouds, and they're not awful, but they're still not. They don't look very real. And the palm trees the same. I didn't have the brushes to do the palm trees sufficient justice. You could tell what they are, but it's still. I was happy with how the blending of these colors in the water turned out. So I was particularly happy with the water and with the sky behind the clouds as it blended, as I was just learning to blend color. And then I did this painting, which I almost threw away this painting because I was copying somebody else and I was really trying to work on the waves and the illusion of waves. And it was just not, it didn't look right. And at the very end, when I was about to throw in the towel, I started adding these highlights on the waves, and that totally changed the painting. And all of a sudden, there was dimension in the painting. And I was learning that how you can create with the lighter color here and the darker color here and all these varying blues, you could create this distance in the water. And so this was one of the paintings the first ones where I felt like, wow, I did that, because it wasn't following exactly the tutorial. And I had to kind of figure it out, and I did. And so that was a really fun one to do. Welcome, welcome, those of you that have popped in. We're just taking a trip down memory lane before we get started tonight. And I have a couple more. One I gave to a student, so I don't have it here, but then I did this tutorial, which was a copy of somebody else's. The tree looks a little funky. The technique, it was a little heavy in the greens, but I was really working with how to blend different colors of green and different shades of green and the browns and the different colors in the tree trunk. But what I was happy with was the backlighting, how this painting appears to be backlit, the blending of the sky, and then the highlights on the ground. I was really happy with how that turned out. And then over here, I had started to add some brush like I did over here, and it didn't work. And so I made this into a stone or a boulder, and it actually turned out. And so that was encouraging to me. Everything I do, every painting I do, is to learn a little bit more or to test something. The next and final one that I did as a tutorial copying somebody else's was the bonfire. And this one that I copied this guy on YouTube. And this one was really challenging, but a lot of fun because it had all this blending of the dark blues into the lighter blues, into the browns on the shore, almost a black on the shore, and then the different colors of red and orange and white, really white, yellow on the fire. And so it turned out actually pretty well, but I was learning along the way. And I have a student named Alec who kept telling me at school every day, Mr. Steve, you have to quit painting other people's paintings. You have to do something that is original. Do originals, do originals. And so I decided I was going to do an original. And I picked a picture that I took this summer in the Black Hills in South Dakota. And I painted this. Not horrible. The greens are a little off, especially in the background. They're really bright. And that's something I've been working for several months, is how to mix more realistic greens in foliage and trees. But it was all right. It wasn't great. I painted this again, so I'll show you in a few minutes the second time, and you can see the difference. From there, this was by now August. So here's another one that I took in the Black Hills, a photo, and I started painting. Now, when I get close, you can see that the detail is not very specific. It's more kind of impressionist style brush strokes. But you can see what it is, especially if I back up. You can tell it's kind of a forest path. I wasn't particularly happy with this painting, but it was learning. Again, I was attempting to learn how to paint these greens authentically. And so you can see where I was working, and I chose these specifically for that. You can see little improvements along the way. And then I did, this is still August, I did an image that I had painted in, or that I had taken here in Arkansas, a little creek with a log across and then trees in the back. Again, learning to blend these greens. Now, when I hold these both up together, notice this one, how the greens are a little more vibrant and a little more lifelike. That's what I was going for. And so little by little improvements. And then also in the water, the colors in the water, little by little improving. Now, by the end of August, I painted this painting again. Beginning of August, end of August. Notice the difference from the beginning to the end. More detail. The greens are much more realistic in this one. The distance of the Black Hills in the background, much more realistic. Much better results. Also, notice here. Remember when I said a couple months before I was working with clouds? Look how much more realistic these clouds look. I was particularly happy with this sky and this painting. I was really proud of that because the clouds were so difficult to get right. Remember, let me show you the other one up side by side. Notice the difference in the clouds, one picture to the next. All right, and then some of the more recent ones, those of you that have been on the live stream will recognize these. The Arkansas River, again, working with the greens. And this I did specifically to practice different tones of brown, and could I make it look lifelike? I was pretty happy with how the hills turned out on this one. Although I painted this a couple of times. I repainted over it. It's not perfect, but it's much improved. Welcome to the new people popping into the live stream. And then my first attempt at the animal was the llama. The llama in Peru. We called him Leo, I think, or Leon the llama. This I don't know that this is done. This painting is done yet. I still have some things I can do on it, but it was a lot of work, or really kind of, there were a lot of things in this that were challenging. Of course, the llama, but the stone wall to make it look real, and the ruins kind of back here to make them look like they're actually in the background with the trees and the hills, the various greens. Notice how my ability in mixing the greens are much improved. The clouds, the sky, all of that. So we're getting there, and then another couple of scenes from the Black Hills. This one was, I think, a crowd favorite. This was October, the beginning of October. Took quite a few time, probably 2 or 3 live streams to do this. This is Rough Lock Falls in the Black Hills in South Dakota. Beautiful, beautiful place. There was kind of just this hidden alcove and the light shining through the trees onto the water. That was a fun one to do. And then Spearfish Falls and Spearfish Canyon in the Black Hills. Another landscape, working on the greens, the water. The big challenge for this one was working to make this side of the painting look like it's in the shade and this is in the sunlight when they're all on the same two-dimensional plane. But through some work, we actually did it by toning down the birches. I learned that you can paint these actually blue or purple. If I hold it up, you can actually see maybe the tint on the birches. They aren't actually white. They're kind of a bluish, purple, gray color. And that gives the illusion of white birch, but still kind of in the shadows. And then more recently, this again is not done. This was in the last week or two, the fall colors in Nebraska. My friend Amy took this photo, and I'm still kind of working on it. Not sure when or if it's done yet, but it was a lot of fun. Again, mixing these fall colors to make them look realistic and make it look great. And the one I'm probably most proud of to date was the sunset in Arkansas, the Little Rock sunset. Notice, again, this is October, so from August to October, May to October, July to October, the difference in how my clouds have come, my sky, of course, this, and so I thought it turned out really well. I repainted this top part of the sky a couple times. The clouds I really, when I started, they were really bad, but we got there in the end, and I really love this one. I think it's beautiful. So, and the most recent, I'm still working, this is what we painted last weekend. I worked a little more, so those of you that were here last weekend, you may not have seen the update unless you saw it on social media. I've added this tree in the foreground. I changed and improved the colors here in the foreground. You can see the shadow of the tree that's about to be right there. The tree is not there yet. The big challenge in this photo is the fog that's over the pond. But I got this here on this end. You can see the illusion of the fog. I was really happy with how this blending ended up behind that tree. And then laying these different intensities of the color of the trees to give that perception of that kind of depth perception. So yeah, that's what's going on. Rough Lock Falls. Yes, Rough Lock Falls. That's another one of my favorites, Dad. I really liked that one as well. Some of these I may frame just to see, not to keep them permanently, but to see how they look in frames. All right, so trip down memory lane it is. Let me put these ones I'm still working on over here so that I can go back to them at some point. These are all piled up in my living room on my mantle, so at some point I'll have to get rid of some of them, but it's good to remember where you come from, right? Okay, let's get to tonight. Thanks for sticking with me for this half hour kind of memories going. And so tonight, I'm going to attempt this swan that you see on your screen, the Trumpeter Swan. Again, my friend Nicholas took this picture, and so I'm excited to check this out. Again, feel free to comment, to ask questions, and let me know what you think. So this was my second attempt at an animal, and I knew that in order to get this right or have any hope of getting it right, the challenge would be for the animal would be the shape of the animal. If you get an animal's like physiology wrong, and a human too, that's why I haven't painted any people. If you get someone's nose off or the eyes, even if it's just a little bit off, it's instantly like it just doesn't work. So before I came on to the live stream, I did some sketching of this swan. So you can see I have the basic outline. I'm fairly happy with this, how it turned out. Because my canvas is a different size than obviously the 16:9 ratio. This is square, so I had to extend the swan's body a little bit. But I think for my purposes, which are to learn more about this animal, more about the anatomy of the animal and how to paint it, that's the goal. So, hey Bob, thanks for joining. Yeah, it is a beautiful, this image, I don't know if you know Nicolas works at the ASB TDC, but Nicolas Mayerhoeffer took this photo and is allowing me to paint it. So I'm really excited to try it. So I sketched it out, and then we are going to see if we can do this justice. The image, as you see in the right of your screen, has a lot of, it's just such detail. And so it's going to be, my perfectionist tendencies are going to be warring with me, but we're going to get it done. So the first thing I think we need to do is lay down a basic coat to cover the canvas of the water behind. So I'm gonna mix a kind of bluish gray color and try to match as close as possible this color, and then get our canvas covered, because I want to make sure that I'm very specific about the outline, at least, of the bird. Because if I preserve the outline, then I can add the details, which will help us as we go forward. So I'm going to mix this color. I think I'm trying to look at what color is really here. It's kind of gray, but it's not it's more of a blue-gray, isn't it, when you really look at it? So I'm going to put a little black there. We're going to use a lot of white, as you might imagine, tonight. Oh, but white I did not open, so brand new tube of white paint. Hope everybody's Halloween is going great. I didn't trick or treat, but my students did. We had on campus trick or treat. We have been fortunate on our campus that all of our we have had no cases of COVID on our campus this semester, um, and we are so lucky. But the students have not left campus very often, so we did a trick or treating kind of office to office yesterday. So I made my contribution to the trick or treating festivities with a $5 bag of candy from the from the dollar store. Um, but yes, tonight I am staying in and out of the out of the way, out of the way. All right, so try to hold this up. Eventually, I want to get a camera that's over my head, that's mounted over my head, so you can see me mixing. I'm also thinking about, not thinking about, I'm going to be reaching out to some other artists to see if they would like to collaborate and join my live stream like sometime, because I think it would be really fun to have another artist join me and, paint the same image, but see for how different artists, two different artists would approach it. So hopefully these live streams will liven up even more as we go. Okay, so I'm mixing a white, black, and a little ultramarine blue. This blue, very little bit, to give us as close as I can match the color on this screen. I think it's still a little light, so let me add a little more in here. I've said this before, but the challenge with acrylic paints is that they dry so fast. I'm actually going to be seeing if I can work with some. I'm going to get on YouTube and look at some. There are different mediums you can add to your paint to make them slower drying. And so I think I'm going to kind of snoop around the interwebs and see what kind of mediums people are using, acrylic painters are using. A lot of people just go to oils, but I'm not really in a hurry to go to oils. At some point, I probably will, but not in a hurry to do that. Not in a hurry at all. I want to build a certain level of competency and skill and then maybe move to oil. Okay, let's see. Uh, all right, well, this will be good for a good coating cover. So let me see if I can zoom y'all in a little bit. Zoom, zoom, zoom. So you can see. The lighting's not the greatest in here, and I apologize for that. That's another thing I want to improve in my live stream is improve the lighting. But I just haven't bought the LED kind of studio lights yet, so it's just that overhead kind of dingy light, which makes it harder for y'all to see, and that's my fault, and I'm sorry about that, but we will slowly, as I have time and money to improve that, we will do it so that you get a better experience. All right, let me mix some more color because I'm already running out. Again, just the white is kind of the base, and then we're adding that black, which gives us the gray, and then a bit of blue to soften that gray to give us kind of that bluish gray color of the water. All right, so you can kind of see it looks kind of purple on your screen, but it's kind of that blue. Ooh, don't want to do that. Dad, it's almost like cutting in around woodwork. Thanks for those painting skills. My father is a master painter of houses and such. So maybe it comes in maybe there is a certain level of natural ability that comes in the blood. But I had opportunities to paint with him over the years, and very few times as far as, but the techniques, there were a few techniques I learned along the way, cutting in around woodwork, which I'm just, when I put brush to canvas, realized, wow, that comes in handy. I am glad I did that. So, oh, I just took you all out of frame. I'm sorry. I just needed a little more control, and I needed to take it off the easel there. Okay, let's see if we can cover this whole canvas, at least right there. Okay, we got this side of the canvas covered. Now, let's go back. See, it's already it's already drying so quick. Let's get around this swan. I almost said goose. Let's see if we can cut in around her or him. Don't know if our little swan is a male or female. Okay. I am going to switch really quick to a smaller brush so that I have a little more control when I get in here around this neckline. Don't want to mess up the neckline. Okay, good deal. All right, let's smooth out this a little bit. Make sure all of the canvas is covered. We've retained the integrity of our swan, the shape of our swan, so that is good. Okay. Basically, this is going to be in kind of 2 steps. We're going to go, whoops, sorry about that. We're going to put in the water so y'all can see we've laid in the water around the swan. And now we're going to lay in the swan like a base white for the color of the swan's body. So, all right, let's see. Welcome to those of you that have just joined us. If you're just joining us, please feel free to let me know you're in the room. Well, yeah, in the room, I guess. No matter where you're watching, say hello. Feel free to ask questions. I will try to explain my process as I go. That way, hopefully, you'll see something entertaining and informative, and I am always learning. So, yeah, that's what we're doing tonight. Hope your evening is going well and your weekend has been great. We're about 42 minutes in. We took about 30 minutes for a walk down memory lane at the beginning, looking at some of the paintings we've done to date, and then we started this beautiful swan, courtesy of my friend Nicolas. That's not correct pronunciation of his name, but all right. Oh, Dad, that's awesome. I mentioned that my dad taught me to cut in with when I painted. I think it was apartments where I did most of the painting around woodwork, but yeah, excellent, excellent. I'm glad it's dad approved technique. So cool, cool. One of the guys that I watch on YouTube is a muralist. He does mural, so he uses all those interior paints. It's funny to see, a quart or a gallon of interior paint, and he's at Sherwin-Williams buying, house paint brushes, and the beautiful pictures and trees and mountains and stuff he can create on a wall. I'm really fascinated by that process. So that's something I've been watching just to understand the technique, but also I just think it's people who can do that. It's a different world to be able to do it on a 8x10 or 10x10 as opposed to an 8x8 inch canvas. So, but yeah, he is. That's something I think about. Okay, so looking at the swan, the body of the swan is really white with a little shadow right in here, and there's shadow across the neck right here, and then there's discoloration, kind of a rust reddish color, brownish color in the feathers of the swan up here. But what I want to do is lay in over this area a really kind of almost white layer. So I think I'm trying to look if there's any kind of color I need to add to the white. Almost like a okay. Here we go. This won't really do anything other than cover the canvas. I apologize, I'm out of frame again, probably. Yeah, almost. But I have to get above that kind of ridge that's on the... There we go. Now I can put it back. Okay. And this is light enough that I can see the neckline still. Thank you, Anna. Thanks for stopping by. Yes, I think they are so graceful. Carlos. Thank you, thank you. Okay, this brush is too big. Again. I appreciate it, Carlos. Muchas gracias. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Let me zoom in just a little bit. Hopefully, oop, I just put paint all over my phone. So you can see a little bit more of the detail work I'm doing here. Obviously, I have too much paint on the canvas, so I'm going to take some of that off. But I do want to get the whole thing coated. I'm not right-handed. I have to, there. Okay, I think we're there. The canvas is covered, except for the last thing, which is what? What's the final thing we have to do to get the canvas covered? Anybody's been paying attention? What else do we got to do? I appreciate each of you that is here hanging with me. When I started this, I figured I didn't think anybody would want to watch me paint, especially just learning. But clearly there are people, at least friends and family, who are interested enough to watch so far. And I have a few people who have joined over the last couple of weeks that are beyond friends and family, that are popped in to say hello. I appreciate them as well, but I figure if I'm going to be painting here by myself, might as well have some friends or people to hang with. And I'm going to get in my little comfy stool. If you all saw a couple weeks ago, I bought myself a little stool to sit in so that it's a little more convenient and comfortable to to paint longer times. So, all right, we are going to go. I don't think I've ever seen in nature like black, true black. But this swan's beak is pretty close. As close as I think we're about to get. So what I'm going to do is go in and put in the beak shape. May have to do a few coats of this to make sure because the acrylic paint will soak, even though this particular canvas has been pre-gessoed, which means they just put a coat of gesso on. It will still soak in quite a bit of that. Paint, so we will just make sure that it soaks in and gets the whole canvas completely coated. In a minute, I'll switch to a finer brush. It will hopefully give me a better control. Already that is looking really cool. That shiny black. So stunning. I think that's part of what makes this image so interesting to me. The intensity of the black on this animal's beak. Okay, let me go in with a smaller brush. Going in with a really fine detailed brush. So you can see this is obviously zoomed in, so it's really a small, this is probably I think, well, you can see my fingernail compared to it, so it's probably 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. Because if the shape of this eyeball gets wonky, then it really makes the whole swan look kind of, probably will make her look cross-eyed or him look cross-eyed. So we don't want to do that. The room's quiet tonight. Y'all are super quiet, which is not a bad thing necessarily. So tough, even with a tiny brush. Oh, Bob, that would be really cool. I always want to figure out what the next challenge is. I love doing landscape. That's my thing. That's my first, I guess, first painting love. But I know that I need to learn how to do animals and, well, everything. So I'm excited to try some of the sunsets that you sent of the bridges and of Pinnacle Mountain. That's going to be fun. They are in my to paint pile. Actually, yeah, I won't do that now. Sometime when we take a little break, we will I'll scroll through and y'all can see what's coming down the pipe. I almost did a sunset tonight, but I try to, when I ask friends if I can use or, paint a picture they've taken, I try to paint it relatively quickly. And this one was one of the first I asked, but I just didn't have the skill at all to even attempt it at the beginning, or the courage or the audacity to step out and try. But I just thought, well, you know what? Let me just see if I can do this, since it's been a couple months since Nicholas had said that I could use his picture as a reference. And yeah, so that's the Now I'm taking a little bit of a ridiculous amount of time to get the beak correct, or trying to as correct as I can get it, because that's gonna, I think, again, it's almost like the eyes. If the beak is out of, if there's something wrong with the beak, then it's gonna like look weird. The whole painting, it's gonna draw away, because there's nothing else on this painting. That's the challenge. There's nothing else on this painting except, I'm gonna try to adjust this for y'all. Let me zoom out. Oops. Let me zoom out a little bit. Try to move my camera so that you can see a little more directly, like over my shoulder. Sorry, I know this is kind of nauseating, probably to everybody, but let's see. I can zoom in. Then you can kind of look more directly as opposed to from the side. Okay, and I'll try not to bump the my foot, the tripod. Okay. I really need new lights, don't I? I'm just realizing like how much that would improve the viewer's experience if I had better lights over my shoulder. Ooh, oh no, look what I just did. No. No, no, no. Does anybody want to cry with me? Will someone cry with me? Okay. Let's let my heart rate go back a little bit. Okay. We're going to have to fix that, obviously. But we can look at the silver lining, which is that this did not land in the middle of the swan. So this is my stupid mark right there for all the world to see. It's live. I was going to say television, but y'all are watching online, so it's live streaming, y'all. There is no buffer. You see what I see. You see my mistakes, I guess I should say. Okay, I think I'm fairly happy with this. It's the other thing my dad taught me that I'm still learning about painting. Get plenty of paint on the brush, son, he would say. Get plenty of paint on the brush. Get more paint, add more paint. I'm still learning that lesson, Dad. Load it up, load it up. Lots of paint, especially these tiny brushes. They don't hold a lot of paint, and so they don't put down a lot of paint. Okay, I'm fairly happy with that beak. I am going to step back a minute and take a look at our swan. Okay, I'm happy with her so far. Whew. And my thermostat just went on and it is hot. Oh, I think there's a few more people joining. Welcome if you've just joined. Glad to have you. I'll give the spiel. Apologies to everybody who's been in the room. I paint during the weekends. Let me zoom out again. Apologies to everybody. So I paint on the weekends, typically on YouTube and Facebook, and then I paint during the week when I have time on Instagram Live, because I just set up my phone and go for it. Just one camera angle. I actually, and then the comments are just on Instagram here, but I can see your comments. If you have questions or observations, feel free, or just want to chat. I love having you here in the room. So say hello, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or wherever you have found me. For those of you that just came in the room, this is my stupid mark. I was working on the beak and pulled my brush up and went right across the canvas. So while I am wanting to cry, let me go ahead and just work on fixing that. I'm going to mix a little more of this original gray blue that we had over here. A little bit of blue. See if I can match it to what's on the canvas. I put too much black in. So let me add a little blue. Little dab will do ya. That's another aphorism my dad would say. Little dab will do ya. Especially when you're talking about black paint, red paint, orange, yellow, any of those really aggressive, rather aggressive colors. they are overwhelming, or they can be. So we are mixing. Okay, let's see. All right, there we go. The stupid mark is gone. Hopefully for good. We'll just kind of try to blend this in. Pardon me while I hopefully make my mistakes disappear. Also gives me a chance to go back and kind of recover this canvas where it's soaked in already. Okay. Oh, I just realized y'all can't really see what I'm doing. Okay. Okay, I need trying to sharpen this edge now that I have the color in, because that's going to be, that's what's hopefully, that detail is what's going to make this painting stand out, hopefully. So it's deceptively difficult to get those really sharply contrasted lines of the water below the edge of the, especially because this is such a high definition image. Yeah. Challenging for sure. Okay. Well, Okay. Now, I just noticed this. See this murky water? I think it is time for Steve-O to go get a new water, new bottle of water, and turn down the heat in this apartment because the sun came out in Little Rock and it's suddenly fall again. Um, Good reminder from my mother to everybody, don't forget to fall back at, I think it's 2 a.m. or much easier when you go to bed. Most people, we used to have to remember, but now most of our stuff is connected to the internet, so it adjusts, but you always have to go through and adjust the car clocks and the microwave clocks and the oven clocks. So definitely remember to fall back. I'm going to go change this out. I will be right back. So don't let anyone think I'm gone. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. Sorry about that. Clean water, yay. Clean brushes, yay. Or relatively clean brushes. All right. And I just realized I need to set up something for these live streams where when I have to, because typically I have to clean out my water once, or I should probably just get two jars of water. Wouldn't that be the logical thing? Yeah. Never accuse me of being level-headed or full of common sense. But when I need a overlay or something that says I'll be right back or intermission or something. All right, let's jump in. We are about. No, I don't want to install software. Sorry about that. My phone just decided, which is my main camera, just decided that it was going to suggest a software update. So you lost my image, but we are back. We are back. I need some sort of overlay that says intermission or a promotional video or something. That way, y'all know that I'm gone when I'm gone. Okay. All right, people. Here we are now at the decision-making time. I am not sure whether now we need to focus on the water or the swan. The water or the swan? Um, yeah, Bob, I think you're right. A musical interlude, some sort of "I'll be back," a video. That I need a musical interlude though. YouTube is weird about that. I need a musical interlude that I own the rights to the music, or somebody will let me use it, because they will block your video. Even if you have the rights to the music, sometimes they will block your video. So, um, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Or I need a public, what is it they call public domain music? Okay, I'm going to quit that. Now, I'm trying to decide. So I need to create these waves in this water here. And so I'm going to need to mix I think I'm going to need to mix a kind of a more gray color, um, as kind of the shadows, where I learned this. This is interesting about waves, so, or painting waves. So the water is either a mirror or a reflector. A reflector. So in waves, and you'll start noticing this now whenever you look at pictures of waves, paintings of waves, anything like this. Whenever you have water, there's always the part that reflects the light, like these highlighted areas, and that's a reflection of whatever is opposite. So in this case, probably a cloudy sky. There's cloudy sky all here reflected, and then the darker spots are the mirror. That's where you're looking through the water. In this case, because it is a cloudy sky, or not a cloudy sky, but a darker day, there's not the direct light to cut through, and so you don't see the bottom of the lake. And maybe the lake is murky, but that's the challenge with making, and that's I've not I've not successfully done water outside of that one sunset that had the water over. I've not successfully done waves, so this will be interesting. All right, so I think I want to create this kind of um, the darker spots. Because the paint color I did was too light. So I think I want to do kind of a darker mix. So we're going to take our black, and we're going to turn it into a true gray. I'm not sure exactly how to lay this down though on the canvas. Obviously, I can just do it with a brush, but then I'm afraid I'm going to get really sharp lines. So I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing, but this is the process. It's, if at first you don't succeed, right? So let's try again, or let's try the first time. Quit procrastinating, Stephen. Okay. I have kind of a dark. I think I want. a little more, even more blue than I put in there. Okay, let's see. Now, what I'm going to attempt to do is create some wave shapes and patterns in the, actually, I wonder, I don't like this. This is true learning as we go, and I may ruin the whole picture. Not doing what I want it to do, but I don't know how to get there. So we will keep going and figure it out as we go. This probably should have been the base. Yeah, I think it actually should. So we're going to try a different approach. This is something that I think might be interesting. People say often, "Oh, you're improving, you're whatever." I appreciate that. However, I appreciate that perspective. What I think my skill is ability to the ability to problem solve, to course correct, to figure it out. I don't like what I was seeing, and so I'm like, okay, what do I need to do now? What I'm going to do actually is try, and again, I could ruin the painting, but the intent is to paint the background this grayish blue that I'm liking. Redo the background and then lay the waves over this. Tone this down quite a bit, as you can see. And then lay the waves and the various colors over. So yeah, that's approach number 2. I think it will be somewhat more successful than approach 1. I'm still not convinced it's going to be the correct approach, but we shall see. We shall see. And let's see if we can do it without destroying our beautiful swan, because she's still beautiful and we don't want to mess her up. I would probably just cry and go home. Well, I am home, but I don't think I could handle that tonight. Too much drama. Okay. And we'll just kind of try different things until we get, I like this lighter gray, blue-gray better than the dark that was there. We'll just blend it in. Let me get this corner so that it's done right up against the that way it can sit in the okay. Now we need to get our, again, my training from my dad. Come in, cut in around this beautiful swan because we want really sharp lines around her. We don't want these hard lines here, so we have to keep blending in as we go because it's already drying. I can feel it in my brush. I can feel the resistance, the resistance. Okay. Bring in some lighter gray. This just makes it pretty. That's probably what I should have done. And maybe, so tactic number 3, if this doesn't work, if I can't create convincing waves because I'm just not there yet, I am going to just do kind of this oil technique. Well, I call it an oil technique, but it's not because I'm painting in acrylics. But where you do different shades of the same color. So we have, lighter gray with darker gray, and it just kind of blends. And that way, the gray is just the background. That will be, because I think that will create still a beautiful painting where the swan is still the center of attention. She gets all the looks, which is as it should be. Okay. And I think I may have messed up our swan's head, but we will see. By painting this all one stroke, it makes it look like there's which there is, there's like a straight line around this Swan, and so, ugh. I think yeah, this paint's already drying. It's crazy. Drying on the canvas, on my palette, everywhere. Faster than I can literally lay it down. Ugh. And because what you just saw there, I can't really do this quickly, or I risk ruining the swan, or the swan. Okay. Well, I have to be happy with that for now. I'm a little bit of a obsessive compulsive perfectionist, so as you may imagine, okay. All right. Breather, breather. All right, we're gonna let the gray kind of be for a minute. Okay. My water is a mess again, but we're going to try to work on the swan. Okay. What I want to do now is start adding some of the shadows, and I don't know exactly how this will work either. In her or his neck and feathers, there's kind of a golden rust color. So I think I'm going to try to mix that color and see if I can go in and lay some of that in, as well as some of the details. That's going to be an incredibly laborious time. Okay, let me see if I can zoom y'all in again a little bit. Okay. Now, while this is drying, it's almost dry, it's just tacky, but I'm going to go in and try to start putting in some of this detail on the swan. And I don't know if I should do the beak first. I guess I could try. There's all of this really fine work that is on the beak. So, and in the eye. You probably can't even see because like this, whoops, see if I can get it on camera. So this brush is like a thumbnail basically, or not a thumbnail, is like a hangnail. It's very, very tiny, but I'm going to try to put some of the more where the water is reflecting off of swan's beak. That'll give us some three-dimensional appearance to the beak a little bit. And then we can begin to put highlights in after that. One of the things I want to work on eventually is photorealism. I want to learn some of those skills. Whoa, that's really bright. So we will take that down over the beak. I'm trying to right now just work on shape of these highlights and then come in later with more specific tones. This is a very bright highlight, so back here has right along the edge of the beak. It's kind of this reflection of the light. And here is some more reflection, lighter reflection. What I'm hoping this will do is give the appearance, at least from a distance, of 3 dimensions. Because you get multiple shades on this beak. He has a, right here, on the edge of the beak is kind of dark. I'm going to come in here almost with a white, just for a few spots where the water catches the light, where the light catches the water almost perfectly. And I'm going to actually try the thing I'm most afraid of, which is the little bead of water that's off of his nose. Takes an incredibly stable hand, which I'm realizing I don't have. My hand's shaking like crazy. Alright, but I think at a distance that's going to be really cool. Okay. There is a little bit of a right here in his, it's not apparent unless you get right up on the photo, but there is a little bit of kind of a reddish brown where his, essentially his lower beak, I assume, or the lower, whatever, they don't have lips, I guess, but the lower part of the beak meets this upper part. So we'll put that in because it's there. Okay. I'm kind of getting okay with this. There's still some gray. That's in here. I don't know if I can put it in. It's like, it's lighter. It's not too light, and I'm afraid I'm going to go too light. But just need something a little lighter than that. It's almost imperceptible. Yes, now I'm being ridiculous, but I will be happy. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that swans, I know geese obviously make a noise, but swans, as far as I know, don't. All right. I started by saying I was going to put in the feathers and then I didn't, right? So let's go back and do that. Okay. These are really fine lines. I need to need more of a brownish color as they go back. A very diluted, less rust. Okay. So I know this is rather tedious and probably terribly uninteresting to watch. So for that, I apologize. However, for what I hope the outcome to be, I don't. This is showing up on your screen really, whoops, yeah, or really, so I'm trying to go in and put specific colors and shades into this. It just looks really muddy on your screen, but yeah, that's what we're trying to do. So then that at a distance, it looks realistic. laying almost an imperceptible yellow hue in here to give contour to the neck, because it exists in the image. Um, Now I need a little of that gray. That's so much of this is the patience to do different layers, multiple layers, and because when you look at the picture, you're like, oh, the swan is white. Well, yes and no. um, and the way the light hits the swan is all different. Reflections on the swan's feathers. That's the hard part, I think, is getting all these tones correct, or as correct as possible. Hey, Jason. Thanks for joining. Yeah, this is actually very difficult for me because I haven't ever, well, I've not done a lot of animal. Number one, I've not done a lot of animals. So I'm learning, developing my technique as I go. Like, for example, here on the whitest part of the body of the swan, which I need to like move so y'all can see a little bit. And my lighting's bad, so I apologize for that. But um, there's some shadow on the body of the swan that gives it, but it's all, this is all out of focus in the image, as you can see. So I'm trying to figure out how to add that, the shadow without creating hard lines in the body of the swan because it's not there. It's just the it's the shadow of the animals, the way the feathers are laying or lying. So yeah, it's a challenge, but it's kind of fun. What I found is by mixing white with it, painting white, a little white mixture over the kind of gray brown that I had there, it gives me a real, I mean, it's visible. But then we have to go in and blend that out of there. Lay it in and then blend it out. Give me some more white. And come in and dull it up a little bit. So you see it, but it blends right into the rest of the animals. I almost said fur, but feathers. So yeah, that's the challenge. That is it. At least this challenge right now. But I'm liking what's happening here, so I'm going to keep. Although I need like it's a lighter, it's kind of a brownish. There's a brownish white, yellowish brownish white at the edge of the, right there. I want to put into the, mix into the neck a little bit. Some of these other areas. Blend out some of those hard lines. This is like a shadow. It goes between this kind of grayish white down here and the brownish white over here. And I want to do just pure white on the highest parts of the animal's body. It's almost iridescent, isn't it? Kind of in there. The white is just so bright. And I'm doing pure titanium white in here. Okay, I think that's what I just realized what's bothering me. This neck is off. It's supposed to come back this way, but it's good enough for my skill level. I want to bring white totally the front end of this beast is bright, shining. There's a little bit up here. Okay. That bead of water on its beak. Okay. I'm kind of happy with the swan. Now I'm wondering, can I go in and create in the water the same effect I did on the swan's body? So let's zoom out for y'all a little bit. Okay, remember when I said I wanted to see, I want to see if I can create the oh no, that's not what I wanted to do, but might be useful. Now I'm wondering, can I do that's not what I want to do. because this is totally out of focus in the reference photo. Oh, no. No, no, no. See what I mean? The technique learning on the job is not all it's cracked up to be. Okay, I'll have to. It doesn't look bad on the screen, but it looks pretty bad in the here. So I'm wondering. I had said, do y'all remember what I had said? Number 3 was if it didn't work. We're going back to number 3. We'll just turn it into a nondescript background with no definition. Because I really just want our swan to really just want her to stand out. Yeah. Alternating all kinds of brush strokes. Give us a nice gray background. Hopefully good focus on Madame Swan. That is the plan. Stan. Y'all, we have been going 2.5 hours. Well, really 2 hours because the first half was that walk down memory lane. So if anybody is stuck with me from beginning to end, if you've been here since the very beginning, would you let me know? Give a holler out in the comments because I am impressed. You have stuck with me the whole time. Okay. Well, we relatively fixed the, whoops, let's zoom out the background debacle. Um, Let me see. Is there anything left detail-wise that I want to solve? I think there's only like maybe, I don't know. Going back again to the oops. Some more detail work on the swan. This could go on forever, y'all. I do need to fix, I just noticed I do need to fix that one spot where I got a little brush happy with the background. Brightest. All right. I'm feeling like this is about as good as Mr. Rice is going to get this one at this level of his expertise. So I think I am about completed for what I can do with this. What do y'all think? What do y'all think? Oops. There we go. I can see you a little bit. You can see me. Great couple of hours. It was a lot of fun. I learned, a lot of new things, new techniques, tried a bunch of things that didn't work, tried a few things that did, and overall for May, June, well, really, June, July, August, September, October, for 5 months of exploration and trying to figure things out as I go, I am not disappointed with this piece of work. I am actually rather pleased with how it turned out, and yeah, not bad for the second animal. Those of you who are still watching, thank you so much. Thanks for joining me, and I hope it's been informative and a little bit of fun, maybe relaxing. Hopefully you had a chance to get some snacks or a drink or something. But yeah, I think we are wrapped up. And as always, please follow me on YouTube. Subscribe there so that you can keep track of when I go live on the weekends. Also follow me on Instagram at Stephen E. Rice on Instagram, Stephen E. Rice on Instagram, and you can see what I do during the week. I go live on Instagram Live. Typically, I'm doing a different picture than I do during the weekend. Anytime I can. Usually they're impromptu, different days of the week, different evenings, depending what my schedule is and what I can do. As the holidays are coming, I'm going to be doing even more painting, however, because I'll have break. I'm a teacher, so I'll have break from school. The week of Thanksgiving, or that around Thanksgiving, I'll have some break, of course, in the holiday time. Not sure exactly what my plans are yet, but we'll be doing a lot more painting with my off time. So you can get a head start and get connected on YouTube there and find me. And then, of course, on Instagram, where I post video, live video, as well as images of what I take. So again, thank you so much. Everyone have a great evening, and I will see you on Instagram or next weekend here on YouTube, Facebook, etc. Thanks so much. Have a great evening. We'll see you next time.